Wormholes, particle physics, extra dimensions. Are the wonders of so-called reality really what they appear to be? Or do we exist in an elaborate hologram? Is our universe the result of random activity or the result of intelligent design? If a creator was involved, can we discover him through our perception of divine order? This is Into the Multiverse with Josh Peck.
Hello and welcome to another very special episode of Into the Multiverse. We have some very exciting news. Justin and Wes Faull are both here at Skywatch. We have one of them today, Wes Faull, in studio with us. How are you doing, Wes?
Great, man. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Justin is on assignment, so we'll have him on another episode later on. But I'm actually, we were kind of talking before.
Assignment.
Yeah.
He was just in here. Don't let him fool you. He was just in here. No, he's doing some other things, seriously.
Is that what they're calling it these days?
They're calling it assignment. He felt underdressed for the for the occasion, if you will.
Love it.
Yeah, we'll definitely have him on in a couple episodes or in a few episodes later on because he's got some important stuff to take care of. But we do have Wes Faull in studio, and actually this works out pretty well. We were talking before the show, and Justin's been on here a bunch of times. He's told his testimony. Audience is already familiar with him, and they all love him, of course, as do we. But we haven't had you on yet. This is the first time for you. So I'm really excited. We're going to be doing 2 episodes with Wes. We'll have an extended feature as well on youtube.com/Into the Multiverse. And there's a little teaser for what Christina's going to be telling you. Christina, how can people find us online?
You can go to youtube.com/Into the Multiverse. You can find us on Roku under the Skywatch TV channel. We also have an app for your smartphone. You can just go and download that. You have access to every single show that is affiliated with Skywatch TV.
Yes, and make sure you subscribe. Click that little bell because otherwise YouTube won't tell you when we do things. But in case you do forget to click the little bell, every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. we'll have a new episode ready. And also we have some big changes. Our 100th episode is coming up, and you'll want to make sure to stay tuned to that because we have some really exciting things to announce, some big changes coming, all very good and all very exciting. We have heard from you, our audience, and we love the feedback that you're giving us, so please keep doing that. You can do it in the comment section below or email jpeck@skywatchtv.com. All right, so Wes, welcome to Skywatch TV.
Thanks, man.
And welcome into the Multiverse.
Yeah, I was first time in the multiverse.
Yeah.
So I was expecting my beard would feel a lot bigger than it is, but it feels really small for some reason.
We get that a lot.
I had actually meant to introduce you because I do this to Justin all the time when I interview him because he looks like a lot of different people. You know, there's a lot of different actors that he just has one of those faces. I was going to introduce you as Wes Faull, who did the Hollow Earth Chronicles and also professional young Zeus impersonator.
That's good. Love it.
So, where to even begin? I know you've got an amazing testimony. I've heard some of it. Well, let's start with we'll go backwards, but let's start with Hollow Earth in case people aren't familiar with you or your work. What is the whole Hollow Earth Chronicles? What part did you play? You and Justin are obviously brothers, so what's that whole dynamic been like?
Kind of looking back, looking forward deal.
Well, let's start from all the way to the beginning. At some point, you were born.
Let me do that, man. We'll go forward.
Not a problem. At some point, you were born. You and Justin have a few years apart. So at some point, there was a little baby Justin who got brought home.
Yeah, I was born at a very young age. So, all right, so sorry.
It was later on in life for me.
Yeah. I was born in Atlanta, Georgia. Mm-hmm. Born as a PK. Mm-hmm. So there's that dynamic to life. Moved to Florida when I was 2. Justin came along when I was 5, so we have a little gap between us. Mm-hmm. Being a PK, my dad moved, and the family moved with him to Houston, Texas, and took over a church there. I was now moving back. I was 7 years old in Florida, and I was attending a children's ministry deal, and that's when I accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior. It was kind of a point of, you realize you're missing something. You realize you have the knowledge of good and evil, but what kind of sin do you really have in your life at 7?
Right.
So I had a knowledge of Christ at the time. I knew that was the truth was the word, and kind of skipping forward a little bit, jump over to say 13 years old in Texas. That was the time when I pretty much started living for myself.
I know what that's like. I
yeah.
did the same thing.
Yeah, so from 13 for about the next 15 years was basically just a big selfish life of the world, sex, drugs, rock and roll, my mentality. And praise God, he got me through that. He really, a lot of grace, a lot of mercy. Yeah, I relate to Paul and his writings. That's one of my favorite, my go-tos. If I can go there and see what the Lord did in Paul's life, and it's like, okay, well, if God can do that in Paul's life, then it gives me hope. So, with that, 15 years, just selfishness, whatever made Wes happy. I did well in school. I was able to keep up with a 98.6 GPA through high school.
Nice.
Yay me. So I did that. I was able to hold down jobs. I was functioning, but it was that emptiness that you have before Christ. You're trying to fill it with anything and everything that you can possibly get your hands on, and it's all fleeting. You're temporarily happy, world standards, but then it's gone. So I did that for a long time. And finally, the Lord gave me the smackdown.
I know what that's like.
So I got the smackdown, and it was at a point where I got thrown down on my back so that I had to look up and say, Lord, take me. You've the way, looking back on it, he got me through so many things that I was deserving of death as far as the law is concerned.
Yeah.
But then there's Christ. That's where he comes in, and that's why it's so sweet. That's why the love story of him coming to earth so that he could make us a way to be able to be completed in him. It's awesome.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I can relate a lot to that. And I love testimonies like that. I think it gives parents out there a lot of hope. We get emails from time to time from parents who their teenagers or young adult kids are going through a time in their life where they're kind of, rebelling, falling away from God, maybe even getting into New Age or atheism or any number of things. And we get, and I usually use those opportunities to share my testimony because it was similar to that in my teenage years, young adulthood. I fell away from the church. I got into drugs. I was doing all the same kind of stuff. I was heavily into New Age and just really occultic things and stuff like that, which we've talked about a lot on this show. Yeah. And I had to have my smackdown moment too, and I thank God for it. I mean, at the time it was terrible because part of that was me quitting drugs cold turkey, and I was taking at the time, I don't know if it's still the case, but at the time this was the highest milligram you could get in pill form. I was taking 80 milligram oxycodone, 2 or 3 of those every day, and I do have a chronic pain issue, and I was taking it for that, but I was like taking way too much, like way more than my doctor knew about. Right. And that's similar to heroin, and the withdrawal is similar. And
same page.
Yeah, exactly.
It is. It's synthetic heroin.
Yeah, it's the same thing. And those couple of weeks of getting off that were just absolute hell. I mean, it was horrible, but through that, I really learned to lean on God. She was there with me through that whole thing. She took care of me and everything. It was a really tough time, but it was definitely needed. And ultimately that also led to me being at Skywatch, a couple of years ago. So that's, I hope that can encourage some parents out there, or even, I know that our show hits a younger demographic than Skywatch and some of the other shows that we do. So I'm sure there's probably young adults or teens that are watching this that are going through that time, and they might not think that it's that bad or that there's anything necessarily wrong with it. And I would say, you just got to trust in God. And for the parents, of course, you got to love your kids. You got to put love first, and of course, you're going to be concerned. Yeah. But only speaking for myself, when I was going through that time, there wasn't anything that my family could have said because I just thought they were wrong.
Sure.
And there wasn't any. It didn't matter how loving they were or how hard they were on me. It just didn't matter. Just they were wrong. I was right. I knew better. How to take care of myself, and only God can do that kind of heart change. So I think it was through a lot of prayer from my family and friends and stuff, praying for that heart change that helped.
Absolutely.
Did you notice the same kind of mentality when you were going through
Completely, man. So I mean, I don't have a story of an abusive family or anything bad. My parents are awesome, man. Talk about a biblical example of how you're supposed to live and raise your kids. Like, that's what I had.
They actually moved here with you guys, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that's it's another awesome blessing, man, taking advantage of it. I look at the 15 years, that I was living for myself. I stole a lot of time from them, because I was all about me.
Yeah.
And it's been great since the Lord got a hold of my life to be able to the restoration, the restoring or taking back what the locusts have eaten.
Yeah.
And it's just awesome to see the Lord's hand in that. They prayed the whole time. They didn't know everything that I was involved in, but they knew that I wasn't where I needed to be.
Yeah.
And what do? You continue to cover that person in prayer and continue to petition the Lord about it. And like the proverb says, raise up a child in the way that he should go. When he's old, he won't depart from it.
Yeah.
That worked to be true in my life. And so after the Lord gave me the smackdown, talk about just a road to Damascus experience. I was able to finish school. Justin and I both graduated together. Same
Was
day.
this film school?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I guess kind of going back again, I went to the University of Alabama for out of high school. I went there, and that was basically it was a lot of old school technology, man. So I was getting into I started going in the business path, but got about 3 classes away from a minor and decided I didn't want to do that the rest of my life. The management and finance and stuff. I wasn't really big into that. So the Lord took me into communications field, and I stuttered when I said communications. So he took me into that field, radio, television, and film. I started getting a good knowledge of the history of motion picture, television, the film industry, linear and nonlinear editing. With the audio side of things, we actually started off doing the reel-to-reel cutting, pasting,
wow.
and so you take it back. So I got a good ground knowledge as far as how it works, studying films by genre and tracing actors through different things, and foreign cinema as well. So it was pretty cool. I really enjoyed it. Writing papers, breaking down, analyzing things. So that was more of like, I guess, just a book knowledge. The stuff that we were using in the studio there, it was like 1970s CBS equipment that got given to the studio. So, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
And even with the switcher and everything, it was actually, I forgot it was the Star Wars where they're going into hyperspace and the Falcon. That was actually the switcher.
Oh, okay.
A little history.
Oh, that's
pretty cool.
Yeah. So we had one of those to do So learned on that. The Lord took me over to Atlanta. My parents moved back over there from Houston while I was in school. Took Justin over there with them, and I came back over there in I think 2001, somewhere around there. And I got into the Art Institute of Atlanta. Justin was in there as well. And that was more of up-to-date stuff. So we were actually in there when HD became a thing.
Oh, okay.
We were in the transition of SD to HD. It kind of dates us a little bit. It's kind of weird. It's like I'm talking about the 8-track. So we got in there, and the Lord just put a desire in our hearts to want to take that and use it for His glory and for His kingdom. So that was we saw we were excelling in it, and it was we excelled working together, and he just kind of tightened that bond. We really didn't have, just to get into our personal business, we had a 5-year gap between us, so it's like we had that distance. Growing up, it's like you got the older brother, younger brother deal.
Sure.
But once I got into college, we hit it off. I mean, that's when we really started to get tight.
That's
And
awesome.
It is, but we were also in that same period of old life.
Yeah.
So we were excelling in that together.
Oh, gotcha.
But the Lord broke us both at the same time. So it's really awesome how He used all that. His plan is so much greater than ours.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I mean, you guys are extremely accomplished and really good at what you do. And actually, we have one of their movies at the Skywatch store. So we're going to tell you how you can get a hold of that. And remember, we're doing an extended interview where we will actually be answering some of your questions. And if you want to be a part of that, you can follow me on Facebook. It's just Josh Peck. You'll see my picture. And from time to time when we have a guest, I'll post, see if anybody wants to ask the guest any questions. So I posted something about Wes here, and we got a whole bunch of questions. So we'll be asking those in the extended interview. Go to youtube.com/into the multiverse for that. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit of Hollow Earth. So stay tuned.
We've been talking to filmmaker Justin Faull about his brand new documentary release, Hollow Earth Chronicles. In this unprecedented film, Justin interviews a never-before-assembled all-star cast of biblical scholars and experts, including Dr. Thomas Horn, L.A. Marzulli, Steve Quayle, Derek Gilbert, and many more who collectively reveal how the concept of a hollow earth inspired some of the worst crimes against humanity in recent history, and how understanding the hollow earth is key to deciphering modern biblical prophecy. Skywatch TV is proud to announce the Hollow Earth special offer. When you order Hollow Earth Chronicles exclusively at the Skywatch TV store, you'll also receive Astrobiology and the Vatican ET Connection. In this full-length DVD presentation, the late internationally acclaimed author Chris Putnam walks you step by step through the Vatican's astonishing plan for the arrival of an alien savior, one whom the prophet Daniel foresaw as an alien god. Plus, you'll also receive Forbidden Secrets of the Labyrinth by Mark Flynn. In this phenomenal work, you'll discover for the first time the true identity of the object worshipped by modern Freemasons, the elite's plan to secretly replace the world's financial currency with an antichrist system, the coming resurrection of the false god Apollyon in the very near future, and so much more. Sold separately, these items hold a retail value of $60. Yours now for only $29.95 plus shipping and handling. An unprecedented compilation of research materials that expose darkness and equips you with the information you need to face the future head on. The Hollow Earth special offer, available now at skywatchtvstore.com.
Welcome back to Into the Multiverse. Now, if you haven't had a chance to do so, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Facebook. We're going to be doing some questions in the extended interview here. So, how did you go from? You and Justin went from college to. Did you start off doing like these fringe Christian kind of prophetic kind of films, or was there some sort of thing that you did in between, or how did that work out?
Good question. Yeah, so this is long and drawn out, man. This is the extended cut. So in school, we were living for ourselves again, and as that process, that transition came in, where the Lord just stopped all that. He actually did it with. We were searching for some videos online. That was LimeWire. You could do the downloads.
Yeah,
I remember LimeWire. Yeah,
we were doing that, and Justin got a whole bunch of videos, and one of them popped up. And it was this guy sitting on a couch, and he was just laying out just crazy facts about vaccines. Alex Jones, turns out it was him.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Okay,
So,
yeah.
and we're just like, who is this guy? What is going on? Why is he so fired up? And, so one thing led to the next, and the next thing we uncovered was Bohemian Grove. That's a great one to jump into on your second film.
Yeah.
But basically what that did was it woke us up to the times that we're living in. Specifically with the Bohemian Grove deal, it's like they're still practicing these Babylonian rituals today.
Yeah.
You know, so that was,
that even made an appearance in House of Cards.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, man. So it's that was that was kind of like ripping a Band-Aid off. You know, the statement of like, how do you tell somebody nicely that they have cancer?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it's just like, we got to get in there with a knife and we got to do some surgery. And that's what the process was like. One thing led to the next. After about 2 weeks of no sleep, documentary after documentary after government documents and, you know, different testimonies and things, that was like the wake-up process. And one of the big ones for me personally and my brother was the implantable microchip for people. So in school, we started getting into that. There were all the street cameras, the 360, that was like just starting to be enacted in Atlanta. So we, in one of our E&G classes, I decided to make that a story. So I went around and I started getting into, you know, all these new cameras that are being put up all over the place. And one thing led to the next. We did a trailer for a piece that we tried to do. Nothing really came of it. I think it was like a 5 or 10 minute piece. But it was about the cashless society and the control grid. And that was back in, I think, 2004, I want to say.
Oh, wow. All right. So this was pre-Bitcoin, pre-all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, so we were going into that. We had a friend who was working for a company who was doing the key fobs and the different stuff like that with their RFID. So yeah, started getting into that. That led a rabbit hole down to what was his name? Kevin Warwick. Kevin Warwick, I want to say, the cybernetic guy with the microchip and out of Reading.
Sounds about right.
I know the name.
Yeah, so we started getting into that and just made a little piece as much as we could do. Horrible quality, like horrible quality. And then what else? Got hooked up with a guy from Australia with We the People Will Not Be Chipped. And that was in 2006, I want to say. So, yeah, from there, Greg is an awesome guy, man. Still haven't met him face to face. One of these days I will. But the Lord bless us with his friendship. He paid for us to go to Washington, D.C., to interview a guy about IBM and the Holocaust. So we interviewed him, and we made a piece on the implantable microchip for people. And it was about a 45-minute piece. Got that done for We the People Will Not Be Chipped. And then Greg also paid for us a couple years later. He sent us to Branson, and that's how we met Tom Horn.
Oh, okay.
That's how we got our
that's cool.
first connection with him.
Did you just run into him there, or was it planned? Or?
Yeah, it was planned. We met him to interview him for about 4 hours, man. We got Tom for 4 hours on transhumanism.
Had he already heard of you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Greg hooked it up. He was,
nice.
He completely got all that lined up for us. And, yeah, we had a place out there, got in and had him for 4 hours. So jumping forward with the testimony part, started teaching a singles ministry and basically just expositionally studying the word. Chapter by chapter, verse by verse. It was at that point in 2007 that the Lord was like, why do you believe the things you believe? You know, do you believe them because you've been taught these things? Or do you believe them because, you know, and now this is where I'm at. I believe because this is what the Word of God says. I can go show you what it says. You know, don't take it from me. It's right here. Yeah. Once that became a foundation, it was like life-changing.
Oh, wow.
It was like a lot of growth, man. And so that was in 2007. You know, the Lord led us through a handful of different things. I ended up having to pay some bills. We did a handful of different video jobs, but I needed to pay some bills. So the Lord took me into the gun industry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was actually my job up until September of this year.
Oh, wow. Well, you fit right in here.
Yeah, thanks, man. But even through that, the Lord was teaching me how to work in the world, be in the world, but not of it. I love all the people that He brought down my path. Just great lifelong friends that he set up during that time period. I still am in touch with those guys, and they minister to me. But through that, it was basically like looking at it. I wanted to be doing the stuff that I'm doing now back in 2007. but the Lord had a lot more growth for me to take,
Sure.
to do in my life before I'd be ready for it. So leading up to, it was kind of like he started a good work in us, and now he's completing it. So Justin, up to the Hollow Earth. Justin, he wrote a script on the Hollow Earth and completely did all that by himself, man.
Oh wow.
The writing was his. The planning was his. Chad Riley got in and.
Great guy.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Love Chad. Couldn't have done it without him. So that led us to back in November. In a matter of about 2 days from them coming together and saying, okay, here's funds, here's the plan, here's the idea. Within 2 days, we had everybody signed on. Well,
wow.
They had everybody signed on.
And Tom even helped out with that too, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So it was just, the Lord's awesome, man. And seeing how he directs steps and connects dots, it's beautiful. That was pretty much, that's the one, man. That was the one that the Lord says, okay, it's time for you to jump back in here. I got something for you to do.
That's awesome.
So we traveled toward the U.S. last November. Every interview that I got to sit there, if you watch the film, I'm the guy who everybody's talking to.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there and I'm talking to, people that I've read their books and I've watched their interviews and I've been hearing them on, podcasts for years. And I'm sitting there and it's kind of a surreal experience. I'm sitting there and they're breaking down all these things to me and I'm just sitting there just like, But it was a blessing, man. I ended up, I helped out with the production, lighting, sound. I shot all of Justin's stuff.
Yeah.
He did all the work on filming everybody else. Chad did everything as far as, getting us on the road, getting us where we need to be. I can barely, make it to work on time. We'll have to cut that out. We'll have to cut that out. But directions are not my forte.
I'm the same way. Yeah, she's good with. She's like
everything.
The GPS. Like
I handle everything in the world always.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's my deal. I take care of the bills. I take care of where we need to go. I get the directions.
This sounds like just opportune timing for me, but we are all out of time.
Well, got it, man.
She is right though. She does take care of like everything. I'm not cutting the show just because of that. The clock just ran out. But we're gonna have Wes back next week. We're gonna do another show. And also right now, go to youtube.com/Into the Multiverse to watch the special extended feature where we answer your questions and we talk more about all this stuff for a lot longer than this. So stay tuned until next week. Thank you for watching, and as always, take care and God bless.